Reliever Roundup and Bullpen Bonanza is brought to you by Sport Relay. Honest, unbiased, and apolitical. Sport Relay, your connection to the diamond. And by A Complete History of the Major League Baseball Playoffs, Volumes 1 and 2 by Evan Thompson. Relive the glory, the complete history of the Major League Baseball Playoffs. This week on Reliever Roundup and Bullpen Bonanza, we go through the latest news around relief pitching. The Orioles send one of their relievers to the Rays. 10 relievers made it to the All-Star game. The Mariners' pen has a meltdown for the ages in New York, then trades implosions with the Tigers in Detroit. We go through a lot of injury updates. We update the true Pomeranz ticker. We reveal our latest team power rankings for each league and our individual middleman, setup man, and closer power rankings for each league as of the end of the first half. And special guest Jayson Stark drops by to discuss the AL and NL All-Star relievers as well as the Hall of Fame. Don't go away. Reliever Roundup and Bullpen Bonanza begins now. Welcome to Reliever Roundup and Bullpen Bonanza. I'm your host, Evan Thompson, Editor-in-Chief, National Writer, and Athletics Writer at Sport Relay. I also wrote these two books, A Complete History of the Major League Baseball Playoffs. Volume 1, which covers the pre-divisional tiebreakers through 1976, and Volume 2, which covers 1977 through 1984. If you're interested in ordering a copy or two, there are links in the description box below this video. We have made it to the All-Star break of the 2025 season. Our statistics include all games through the end of play on Sunday, July 13th, which also marks the ceremonial end of the first half. I say ceremonial because it's more than halfway through the season. Let's take a look at some of the biggest stories from the past week and a half in the world of relief pitching. The Baltimore Orioles traded right-handed middleman Brian Baker to the Tampa Bay Rays in exchange for the number 37 overall pick in the 2025 Major League Baseball draft, which was a competitive balance round A selection. These are the only draft picks baseball teams are allowed to trade, and they can only trade their own competitive balance selection. They can't trade one that they got from another team in a trade. The Rays' relief performance has been in a tailspin for a few weeks now, and they're counting on Baker to help get them back on track. According to the story by Orioles beat writer Jake Rill of MLB.com, Orioles general manager Mike Elias, when asked whether the trade was a sign the Orioles would be making similar moves with an eye beyond 2025, he called it a step in that direction. The Orioles used this pick to draft outfielder Slater DeBrun, a lefty-lefty out of Summit High School in Oregon. The Seattle Mariners' pen imploded Thursday night in New York against the Yankees. Starting pitcher Bryan Woo took a no-hitter into the 8th inning and lost it on a pair of singles to lead off the inning. After yielding a sacrifice fly, Woo left the game with 1 on, 1 out, and the Mariners leading 5-1. Matt Brash struck out Anthony Volpe before coughing up a pinch-hit 2-run homer to the ever-dangerous Giancarlo Stanton. Despite the rocky 8th, the Mariners still held a 5-3 lead heading into the bottom of the 9th. The dependable Andres Munoz came in to close out the game in the 9th, but gave up a leadoff single to Trent Grisham and a 1-out single to Cody Bellinger. Jazz Chisholm flied to right for the 2nd out, bringing up Ben Rice. As Rice batted, Bellinger could see Munoz's grip on the baseball from where he was as he led off first. He waved his arms every time Munoz was about to throw a slider. Just a simple arm wave like this. Grisham relayed the arm wave from second. Rice fouled off and laid off several tough pitches before he ultimately walked on 6 pitches, loading the bases for Austin Wells. Wells also battled to a full count before lining a 2-run game-tying single. The Yankees ultimately won on a walk-off sacrifice fly by Aaron Judge in the 10th inning. Moving to Sunday, when the Mariners-Tigers game had 1 goose egg and 5 broken eggs. It started in the top of the 7th with the game tied at 2 when Tigers reliever Tyler Holton gave up a solo home run. That was the first broken egg. The second and third broken eggs came in the bottom of the 7th when, with the Mariners leading 3-2, Casey Legumina gave up a leadoff single. Gabe Spire took the mound with 1 on and nobody out. He gave up the game-tying sacrifice fly, which, since that was Legumina's run, gave Legumina a broken egg, and the go-ahead solo home run to give a broken egg to himself. Will Vest took the mound for the Tigers in the top of the 8th with a 4-3 lead and lost it after 2 walks and a double. There was broken egg number 4. Matt Brash pitched a 1-2-3 bottom of the 8th for the Mariners to get the game's only goose egg. Then, in the top of the 9th, Tommy Kahnle of the Tigers gave up back-to-back home runs for the 5th broken egg. He ultimately gave up 4 runs in that inning, 3 earned, to give the Mariners an 8-4 lead that they hung on to for the win. Now for a lot of injury news. So buckle up. The Arizona Diamondbacks have lost acting closer Shelby Miller, setup man Ryan Thompson, and middleman Jalen Beeks to the injured list in recent days. Miller experienced discomfort in his right forearm during pregame warmups on June 30th. He went on the injured list on July 7th, retroactive to July 6th. After undergoing an MRI and seeking a second opinion, the diagnosis confirmed a strain with no structural tear. His estimated return is to be determined, but it will likely be late July or early August after rest and rehab. Thompson felt upper back soreness after his outing on July 4th. He went on the injured list on July 6th, retroactive to July 5th. He hasn't thrown since his IL trip and is receiving rest and light therapy. His estimated return is post-All-Star break, with eligibility coming around July 21st. Beeks developed soreness in his lower back mid-series at Anaheim on July 11th. He went on the injured list that day, retroactive to July 8th. He will be reevaluated after the All-Star break. His estimated return is late July, with eligibility coming on July 23rd. These 3 developments mean that no Diamondbacks reliever from opening day is currently on the team's active roster. Furthermore, they only have 5 relievers with enough appearances, 20, to be listed in our rankings this week, and of those 5, 3, the guys we just discussed, are currently injured. It's been rough going in Arizona. The Athletics still expect middleman Grant Holman to return from the injured list in mid to late July, although they do not have a firm return date yet. Baltimore Orioles middleman Keegan Aiken experienced tightness in his left shoulder around the time he went on the injured list, which was July 2nd. He received a cortisone injection and was shut down for 5 to 7 days. Aiken threw live batting practice on July 7th, and his estimated return is mid to late July after a brief rehab assignment in AAA. Chicago Cubs setup man Porter Hodge experienced a right shoulder impingement, which surfaced after a rough outing on July 8th. He went on the injured list on July 9th. Hodge is still expected to travel with the team while receiving treatment, but will be shut down for a few days. His estimated return is mid-July to early August once his shoulder clears up and side sessions resume. Good news for the White Sox, as they activated left-handed middleman Cam Boozer from the 15-day injured list Sunday. Bad news for Cam Boozer, however, as the White Sox immediately optioned him to the AAA Charlotte Knights. Cincinnati Reds middleman Ian Jabot has begun playing catch and is building up to bullpen sessions with side sessions ongoing. His estimated return is post-All-Star break, with the earliest date being around mid-July. Kansas City Royals middleman Daniel Lynch IV went on the injured list July 6th with left elbow nerve irritation. He has been shut down for several days and will start gentle throwing once the pain eases. His estimated return is late July. He will be eligible to return on July 21st. Dodgers righty setup man Blake Trinan out since April with a sprained right forearm, threw 17 pitches in his single-inning rehab outing with AAA Oklahoma City July 12th. That was his second rehab outing. His next appearance is set for July 15th in the Arizona Complex League. That's a rookie league. Miami Marlins back-end right-hander, and I say back-end because he's been both a setup man and a closer. Back-end right-hander Jesus Tinoco is almost back from the right forearm strain that has had him on the injured list since early June. On July 8th, he threw a scoreless frame in a AAA rehab outing. Their AAA team is in Jacksonville, Florida. He is estimated to return in mid-July after 1 or 2 more rehab outings. Yankees right-handed middleman Fernando Cruz will have imaging of his strained left oblique during the All-Star break, which will help determine his rehab timeline. He is estimated to return in late July or early August. Mark Leiter Jr. on the injured list since July 8th with a left fibular head stress fracture, received an injection and will start playing catch before progressing to bullpen sessions. He is estimated to return in early August. Now to the Pirates. Middleman Chase Shugart, suffering from left knee inflammation, went on the injured list July 8th. He is undergoing evaluations and has not started throwing yet. The Pirates expect to have Shugart return in late July. Middleman Ryan Borucki, recovering from an inflamed lower back, began a rehab assignment on July 8th with Low A Bradenton and moved to AAA on July 11th. The Pirates expect to have him back in mid-July. Justin Lawrence, out since April 24th with right elbow inflammation, received a PRP injection in May and has been throwing from 120 feet as of July 2nd. He will likely return in late July. Tim Meza, recovering from a left latissimus dorsi teres major strain, has been throwing from 120 feet. A bullpen session is planned right after the All-Star break. He is estimated to return in either late July or early August. Giants middleman Eric Miller has a left elbow sprain. Thankfully, it's only a sprain, so he will not need surgery. He experienced discomfort in late June, and an MRA on July 7th confirmed a mild sprain. He went on the injured list July 5th, retroactive to July 3rd. He is in a full shutdown and will not be throwing while his elbow rests. He is estimated to return 5 weeks out in mid-August and will be reassessed after the All-Star break. Mariners middleman Colin Snyder, out since June 4th with a right forearm flexor strain, began a Low A rehab assignment on July 5th and then threw one scoreless inning in AAA on July 6th. He's expected to return in mid-July after a couple more rehab outings. Rays middleman Manuel Rodriguez, nursing a strained right forearm, had a rehab assignment at AAA on July 8th but suffered a velocity drop and early exit on July 11th. He is currently being reevaluated. He is still estimated to return in late July. Now to the Toronto Blue Jays. Yimi Garcia, who just came back from injury, sprained his left ankle in extra innings against the Angels on July 4th and went on the injured list July 5th. He threw bullpen sessions on July 11th with nearly full velocity and is likely to bypass minor league rehab. Good news for Garcia and the Blue Jays. He is estimated to return immediately after the All-Star break. Nick Sandlin has an inflamed right elbow. It flared up in his outing against the White Sox on July 6th, and he went on the injured list July 8th. There has been no progress yet, as this is a new injured list stint after an earlier April-June lat strain rehab. He is estimated to return in late July. Now it is time once again for the Drew Pomeranz ticker. As of Sunday, July 13th, he still has not allowed an earned run in a Major League relief appearance since July 27th, 2021 against the then Oakland Athletics. His scoreless relief streak is at 30 appearances. Hey, wait a minute, it was 31 appearances last week. That's because I included starts. That was an accident. His scoreless relief streak is at 30 appearances. And he still has not allowed an earned run on the road in any role since September 25th, 2020 at San Francisco against the Giants in the second game of a doubleheader. Now, he did allow 2 earned runs against the St. Louis Cardinals on July 5th, but that was a start, not a relief appearance. Yeah, I know technicality, but this is a relief pitching show, so that's all we look at. And finally, 10 relievers have been named to the All-Star game, 6 in the National League and 4 in the American League. All 4 American League relievers are closers. Aroldis Chapman of the Boston Red Sox, Josh Hader of the Houston Astros, Andres Munoz of the Seattle Mariners, and Carlos Estevez of the Kansas City Royals, who came later as an injury replacement. The National League started off with 3 relievers when the league first announced the roster Sunday. 1 was a closer and 2 were setup men. The closer, Edwin Diaz of the New York Mets. The setup men, Jason Adam of the San Diego Padres, and Randy Rodriguez of the San Francisco Giants, who started the year as a middleman but later became a setup man. 3 more relievers arrived during the week as injury replacements, 2 closers and another setup man. The closers were Trevor McGill of the Milwaukee Brewers and Robert Suarez of the Padres. The setup man, who like Rodriguez started the year in middle relief, was Adrian Morejon, also of the Padres, making the Padres the first team in Major League history to have 3 relievers named to the same All-Star team. And honestly, Jeremiah Estrada also had a good case, so they easily could have had 4. We will go through the team power rankings when we come back. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Reliever Roundup and Bullpen Bonanza. It is time for the Team Relief Corps power rankings. They include every pitch thrown in relief by a player wearing their uniform, excluding position pitchers. This table shows the scoring breakdown. Teams are ranked in clutch, run prevention, base runner prevention, and command, weighted as shown. The final score determines the ranking. 0 means right at league average, positive is better than league average, negative is below league average. A score of 100 means the team is 100% better than league average, a score of 50 is 50% better, a score of negative 50 is 50% lower, and so on. Each digit equals 1 percentage point. Statistics run through the end of play on Sunday, July 13th. We will start with the number 30 team and work our way to number 1. American League teams will appear in red, National League teams will appear in blue. The first number in parentheses after the team name is their rank within their specific league, and the number after the comma indicates the change in their major league rank since our last episode, which was last week. Here we go. Our first group is Pray for a Blowout Win. This includes one team at number 30, unchanged from week 14 with a score of negative 15.9, is the Washington Nationals. The next group, Stock Up on Tums, has 2 teams. Number 29, unchanged from week 14, the Chicago White Sox, scoring negative 10.1. Number 28, down 2 spots, is the Arizona Diamondbacks, scoring negative 8.0. In the Lots of Work to Do group, we have 4 teams. Number 27, after gaining a spot with negative 5.2, the Atlanta Braves. With negative 4.8 is our number 26 team, one that dropped 2 spots, the Colorado Rockies. Finishing the week 25th, up 2 spots after scoring negative 4.2, the Los Angeles Angels. And our number 24 team falling 4 spots from week 14 with negative 2.9, the Tampa Bay Rays. Slightly below average has 4 teams. Number 23 after falling a spot is the Detroit Tigers with a score of 0.3. 22nd with a 3-spot game from week 14 after a score of 1.8 is the Milwaukee Brewers. In 21st, no change from week 14 after scoring 2.9, the St. Louis Cardinals. And coming in 20th, down a spot with 4.1 is the New York Yankees. The average has 6 teams. Number 19, down a spot with 5.1 is the Texas Rangers. Number 18, also down a spot with 5.7, the Cincinnati Reds. Number 17, also down a spot with 5.8, the Philadelphia Phillies. Number 16, you'll never guess, also down a spot with 6.1, the Athletics. Number 15, up 8 spots with 8.1, the Baltimore Orioles. And coming in 14th after falling 2 spots with 8.7, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Slightly above average has 3 teams. In 13th after falling 2 spots with 11.4, the Pittsburgh Pirates. At 12, also after falling 2 spots with 12.6, the Kansas City Royals. And number 11 after climbing 3 spots with 12.7, the Toronto Blue Jays. The good has 2 teams. They are the number 10 Minnesota Twins, up 3 spots after scoring 16.9, and the number 9 Seattle Mariners, down 2 spots after scoring 19.6. The very good has 3 teams in this go-around. Number 8 after climbing a spot is the Boston Red Sox with 21.8. 7th, also after climbing a spot, is the New York Mets with 22.9. And number 6 is the Houston Astros, who fell 2 spots after notching 23.6. Our next group, better take an early lead, has 2 teams. They are the number 5 Chicago Cubs, up a spot after scoring 27.1, and the number 4 San Francisco Giants, down 2 spots after scoring 29.0. And our top group, the Elite, has 3 teams. Number 3, up 2 spots after scoring 34.6, is the San Diego Padres. Number 2 is the top relief corps in the American League, the Cleveland Guardians, up a spot after scoring 34.7. And with 36.1, our number 1 relief unit for the second week in a row, the Miami Marlins. The biggest gainers in this edition of the rankings are the Orioles, who climbed 8 spots, the Brewers, Twins, and Blue Jays, who each climbed 3, and the Angels and Padres, who each gained 2. The biggest drops came from the Rays, who fell 4 spots, and 8 teams who each fell 2 spots. The Diamondbacks, Rockies, Astros, Royals, Dodgers, Pirates, Giants, and Mariners. Before we end this segment, a look at this week's scatter plot. We will be right back with our guest, Jayson Stark, the 2019 Spinks Award winner, which is also known as the Writers' Wing of the Hall of Fame. Our first Hall of Famer. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Reliever Roundup and Bullpen Bonanza. We have a special guest with us here, Jayson Stark. He was at the Philadelphia Inquirer from 80 to 2000, and then ESPN until 2017, Athletic from 2018 to the present. Read him in college, not knowing I'd switch careers later. Now he's a friend, mentor, colleague, everything. Jayson, love having you on the show. Welcome.
Evan, pleasure to be here, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you doing?
Good.
Good.
Getting ready to head for another All-Star game. Looking forward to it.
Have fun in Atlanta. It's going to be great. Speaking of the All-Star game, we'll start with that. 5 relievers for the National League, 3 for the American League. The American League, all 3 are closers. Aroldis Chapman, Josh Hader, Andres Munoz, who had a rough night last night. And then National League, they have 3 closers. Edwin Diaz, Robert Suarez, Trevor McGill, but also 2 setup men, Jason Adam and Randy Rodriguez. What are your observations there with the All-Star choices, first off?
You know, Evan, one thing that I think we forget when we start debating snubs, the all-snub team, yes, the system is pretty rigidly in place. There isn't a lot of wiggle room. Like the fans vote on, obviously, starting position players. So much of the rest of the roster is determined by the player vote that you should direct any unhappiness to them, okay? Because they vote for 3 relievers and they vote for 5 starters. And then when, obviously, a bunch of pitchers are not going to be able to compete for whatever reason, then they go almost strictly by the player vote to fill in the rest of the roster. The only other variable is we still have this rule. Every team needs to be represented. Please ask me about that rule as we go along. But that explains virtually everything, okay? It is odd to only have 3 relief pitchers on the American League team, but that's how they set it up.
So I'll ask you about that right now. What is your opinion of the every team must be represented rule?
Yeah, I'm ready to move on from that. You know, I'm like, if you want to have a Rocky and he can wave to the crowd in the introduction, great. But explain this to me. It's the all-star game. All right. So why do we have a game where Juan Soto isn't in the game and Trey Turner isn't in the game and Seiya Suzuki isn't in the game? But we have an all-star from a team that's 51 games under 500. All due respect to the Rockies and their fans. And we have an all-star in Hunter Goodman, he's having a good year and he's a good player. But if he and Juan Soto walked down the street and there were 50 baseball fans standing there, how many of them would ask him for his autograph versus how many would ask for Juan Soto? And so I just think it's time for baseball to lean into the star part of the game. What's the downside? I just think that's an antiquated rule for a different time.
Was that the Cito Gaston rule, or was it in place before that mess?
It predates me. I don't know exactly how we got there.
Okay, it's not the Cito Gaston rule then.
Yeah, I don't think of it as the Cito Gaston rule. I don't.
Okay. I remember when I first thought, why do we have this? It was 1998 when the team I was rooting for at the time, the Arizona Diamondbacks, had Devon White on the All-Star team. Devon White was a good player, but I didn't think he deserved to be an All-Star that year. But, yeah.
Well, I'd say I would also lean toward picking players who have had great careers and have star power over the guy who had 3 great months. I understand it. I respect it. Whatever they want to do, fine. But I just want the stars to be in the game. It's what all-star games are supposed to be. And it's just my thing, Evan. And since I pressured you into asking me, thanks for asking me. That's where I go with that.
There you go. Now, I would like to ask you about something else that a lot of people don't think about. We have seen more and more middle relievers and some setup men, but middle relievers really make it recently. Like 3 years ago, Joe Manaply made it and fully deserved it that year. He was having a heck of a year that year. I remember Matt Strom last year. I even talked to him about it. Some of the others are eluding my memory right now. What do you think about the fact that we're seeing more and more of that happen?
Yeah, I think it makes total sense because you're seeing teams like the Dodgers, for that matter, who are gravitating away from the idea of having a closer, a set closer, and want to have the flexibility to pitch their best pitchers in any spot, any spot. And that's where the game is heading now. I think it's a good place to be. It took a long time to get there because you had to get past a lot of ego on the part of relief pitchers. You had to convince guys they could still get paid if they didn't have a bunch of saves, and we're heading in that direction. So that's a good trend, and the all-star rosters should reflect that trend. I'll fill you in on a little thing that's also happening in the background. I'm the chairman of a committee. Baseball Writers Association of America is considering adding an award to the Cy Young Award, which would be the Relief Pitcher of the Year award. And, we had Billy Wagner on our Starkville podcast the other day, and we were finished recording. I said to Billy, hey, I'm just curious. You're an example to me of a guy who might have been helped. His Hall of Fame case might have been helped by having an award like this. If we were looking at Billy Wagner's career and we said, whoa, Billy Wagner won 3 Relief Pitcher of the Year awards and finished second 4 times or whatever, that might have changed the way people looked at you and your career. And he said, I don't even care about that. His response was amazing to me. He said, look, we've already got the Mariano Rivera Award and the Trevor Hoffman Award. They're great. People like me vote on it. And what do? We tend to give it to the guys who have the most saves. With your award, if it happens, you have a chance to rise above that. Give it to the guy who came out of the bullpen and pitched the best, no matter what his role is. He said, I used to get all the glory in Houston, and Brad Lidge was better than me. That's a great example, isn't it? So I don't know that this award is going to happen. I don't know if it'll pass. I really can't predict the future on it, but it was interesting that Billy Wagner, closer, Hall of Famer, had that take on it.
Well, and on our show here, when we do our weekly rankings, we separate them. We do separate them by league, of course, but we group the middle relievers together, we group the setup men together, and we group the closers together. So I'm hoping that now maybe 50 people watch my show every time it's on, but I'm hoping that we can get some momentum and show people, look, sometimes the game is won in the 7th inning. Sometimes it's won in the 6th inning when a guy comes in with the bases loaded, nobody out, and gets out of it, And this year, Randy Rodriguez is a prime example. He was probably the best reliever in the National League for weeks as a middle reliever.
Right.
And now he's in setup. So I'm hoping this award happens, and I'm glad to hear people like Billy Wagner encourage you to not just give it to the guy with the most saves, but give it to whoever the best reliever was that year, even if he pitches mostly in the 7th inning.
Yeah. Now, obviously, there's still a really good chance it's going to go to a closer as opposed to a setup man. It's how it works, but it would be the fun part of the debate. Really, one of the inspirations for the proposal to at least bring this this award idea in front of the baseball writers was Mariano Rivera. Mario is Mariano Rivera in the Hall of Fame, Evan?
Of
Fill
course.
me in on that. Yeah. Did he get a few votes? Fill me in on that part.
I don't think anybody voted no, if I remember right.
Yeah, that's correct. He was the first unanimous Hall of Famer. How many awards given out by the BBWAA did Mariano Rivera collect in his entire career? Cy Young, MVP, anything. How many?
Zero.
Zero. Zero. Never came close. So isn't that reflective of the fact that there is this black hole in our process? And at a time when relief pitchers have never had a greater place of prominence in the sport, I just feel like it's time for our organization to recognize that. And this is right in the wheelhouse of your show, isn't it?
Absolutely. I do think Rivera did get World Series MVP one year, didn't he? But
We don't
that's
get
it.
that one out.
But what's that?
No, the baseball writers, that's not a baseball writers.
That's not a
award.
baseball writer.
I'm not saying that.
Exactly.
I'm not saying we didn't know he was playing.
Right, I know.
Nobody ignored Mariano Rivera, but our awards did not have a place for someone at that level of dominance. That's just a mistake.
Well, hopefully it'll go through there. Now, speaking of Hall of Famers, when we open the show, we have a mosaic of pictures go by. We have all 9 Hall of Famers. One of them is going to be giving his induction speech 2 weeks from Sunday. You know him very well, Billy Wagner. First off, why do you think it took so long for him to get in?
Well, I think there are two big forces at play. One is there has been a segment of voters who have taken this stance that they would never vote for any relief pitcher not named Mariano. That period. And I think if you're somebody who votes heavily based on the metrics, who votes heavily based on wins above replacement, I get it. Relief pitchers don't pitch enough innings, don't amass enough volume to ever register on the wins above replacement Richter scale. It's impossible. Right. And so when you look at the body of work, Billy Wagner pitched 900 innings. That's 900 pressure-packed innings. But there are a lot of voters who said 900 innings, and then rip off a list of all the starting pitchers who pitched way more than that. And I get that. I understand that. But you're missing the fact that relief pitching has a huge place in the game and has since Billy Wagner's been in baseball. And as long as it's a real position, we should care about it and we should vote and reflect that. So that's part of it. The other part is Billy knows it well. Closers are often defined by October. Billy Wagner's October ERA was over 10. Now I've gone back through every game, and it's a very odd history for that guy in the postseason. There were just so many strange situations where he would come in and it wasn't a save situation. Wasn't. He had 4 postseason save opportunities in his entire career. That was like a week in the life of Mariano, right? And part of that, a big part of that was that he played for these teams that were very much not the Yankees. And so the situations were never right. The lead was never there. The natural order of things in the bullpen was never there. And so his team kept bringing him into games where they were way behind, they were way ahead. Game was tied before the 9th, stuff like that. It doesn't change the fact that Billy Wagner needed to pitch better. But that 10 ERA, I think, clearly stood in his way for a long, long time.
I do know that because he had so few postseason innings, he had a couple of really bad outings that totally skewed that. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, for sure. And look, it's October. Every one of these outings matters, no matter what the score is. And if you're behind by a run and you give it up, that's a problem. People like the writers in New York Billy Wagner never had a save opportunity in a postseason game for the Mets. But if you ask the writers in New York, they'll say that's because he pitched so badly in the other situations. They didn't trust him to save those games. And hey, that's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
That is clearly a thing. But here's my thing. Okay. When I'm voting for the Hall of Fame, there are two things that really matter to me. One is, does this player have a place in history? Has he had a historically significant career? I think it's safe to say Billy Wagner had a historically significant career. Lowest opponent average and OPS, best whip, best strikeout rate of any left-handed pitcher who ever lived, who pitched as many innings as him. That's a pretty crazy number. He was literally the most unhittable pitcher ever. Now, what are people going to say about that? Well, it's a small sample. You know what's a small sample? The October record. Okay. So that's the other thing that I look at. Big pictures are more revealing than small pictures. Big sample sizes are more revealing than small sample sizes. To me, the historic numbers he put up over the regular season portion of his career tell me much more about him than those postseason outings. And I get that you can't make a 10 ERA in the postseason invisible. And nobody's trying to do that. But let's weigh the important stuff and the larger body of work and counter it with the smaller sample. And Billy Wagner, by that measure, was a clear Hall of Famer.
Absolutely. Career whip under 1,000. That's ridiculous. And I won't say his name because this was a private one-on-one conversation, but I will say it's a former major leaguer who played several years. I talked to him last year, and he said to me he faced Wagner a lot and he faced Hoffman a lot, and Wagner was tougher than Hoffman. With all due respect,
the numbers
to Trevor Hoffman
would tell you the numbers would tell you that too.
Yeah, who fully deserves it.
Yeah. Again, I'm going to say this again. He was the most unhittable pitcher ever. Biggest strikeout rate, lowest average, lowest OPS, best whip. It says it all.
Yeah. And of current guys, probably Jansen would probably have the best chance of the current pitchers who have pitched a long time.
Yeah, I would think so. There are people who vote for Hall of Fame who would say to you, well, once you let Billy Wagner in, then you've got to let Craig Kimbrell in. And I don't know. Craig Kimbrell had a period of insane domination. I also have watched a lot of postseason games involving his teams where the manager was doing everything he could not to get Craig Kimbrell in the game. And then, you remember well what happened Phillies versus Diamondbacks. The Phillies are going to win the World Series if they have a better closer on their team than Craig Kimbrell. He cost them 2 games, and that's the series. That's he changed the way that entire team was defined. And so am I small sample sizing him? I might be. I'll have to figure that out when he comes on the ballot. But, we're going to have to look closely at him, Kenley, Aroldis Chapman. I don't know where it's leading us, but they're all similar to me. Kenley's probably a little bit ahead of the other two.
Yeah, and I think Hader's heading that direction too if he has a couple of really good years.
Yeah.
So, well, I know you don't have a lot of time. We could probably go on for another half hour about all this because it's something we both are very passionate about. But we'll cut it here. What do we have to look forward to on the next Starkville? If you can let us know that.
Yeah, we're actually taking All-Star Week off because it's just so hectic to get everybody in the same place at the same time. So we're 2 weeks away. We've talked to Pedro Martinez about trying to join us leading into Cooperstown. So that right now it looks like Pedro's the leader in the clubhouse for that week, but he's busy. We're busy. Let's hope it happens.
Well, give my best to Doug, if you would, please. And
sure.
Jayson, thank you for being on. This was just an absolute treat to have you here. Hope to have you on again sometime later this season.
Evan, it was my pleasure. Always great to see you, my friend.
Same here. Take care, Jayson.
You too.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to Reliever Roundup and Bullpen Bonanza. It is time for the individual power rankings. Statistics include every regular season game through the end of play on Sunday, July 13th. To qualify for the rankings, there is a minimum of 20 relief appearances. And for the goose egg per broken egg plus stat, which forms the bulk of the clutch category, there is a minimum of 10 goose eggs plus broken eggs, also known as goose egg opportunities. A link to our ranking methods is in the description box below this video. First is the American League middle relievers. Number 10 with 10.3 from the Boston Red Sox, Justin Wilson. Number 9 comes from the Texas Rangers with 13.5, Shawn Armstrong. Coming in 8th with 19.9 from the Minnesota Twins, Brock Stewart. At number 7 with 22.3 from the Toronto Blue Jays, Brendan Little. In 6th with 23.6 from his time with the Baltimore Orioles, Brian Baker. We will incorporate his performance with the Rays into his ratings starting with the next episode. Number 5 with 26.9 from the Houston Astros, Bennett Sousa. Number 4 with 28.8 comes from the Seattle Mariners, Gabe Spire. At number 3 from the Houston Astros, scoring 29.4, Stephen Okert. Number 2 with 41.7 from the Minnesota Twins, Danny Coulombe. And number 1 with 43.2 points from the Toronto Blue Jays, Braden Fisher. Now the National League middle relievers. Number 10 with 13.3 from the Chicago Cubs, Ryan Presley. Number 9 with 13.4 from the Atlanta Braves, Rafael Montero. Number 8 with 13.7 from the Los Angeles Dodgers, Ben Kasparius. At number 7 with 13.9 from the San Francisco Giants, Ryan Walker. In 6th with 14.5 from the Pittsburgh Pirates, Caleb Ferguson. Number 5 is another Dodger with a score of 21.7, Jack Dreyer. Number 4 with a score of 24.9, another Cub, Caleb Thielbar. At number 3 with a score of 25.1 from the Milwaukee Brewers, Nick Mears. At number 2 with a score of 26.3 from the San Diego Padres, Jeremiah Estrada. And number 1 yet again, the man with his own ticker, yet another Cub, Drew Pomeranz, scoring 43.3. Time now for the AL setup men. Number 10 with 68.7 from the Toronto Blue Jays, Yadiel Rodriguez. Coming in 9th from the Minnesota Twins with 71.9, Lewis Varland. In 8th with 73.1 from the Cleveland Guardians, Hunter Gaddis. Number 7 with 74.6 from the Boston Red Sox, Garrett Whitlock. In 6th with 78.2 points from the Texas Rangers, Chris Martin. Number 5 with 88.4 points, also from the Guardians, Cade Smith. Number 4 with 93.2, also from the Twins, Griffin Jax. Number 3 with 127.4 from the Kansas City Royals, Lucas Erceg. Number 2 with 129.8 from the Houston Astros, Brian Abreu. And number 1 with 181.0 points from the Seattle Mariners, Matt Brash. Next, the National League setup men. Number 10 comes from the San Diego Padres with 80.0 All-Star Adrian Morejon. At number 9 from the New York Mets with 82.6 Reed Garrett. Coming in 8th with 83.1 from the Miami Marlins, Anthony Bender. With 90.4 is our number 7 National League setup man from the Los Angeles Dodgers, Alex Vesia. In 6th with 95.6 from the San Francisco Giants, the man who throws from down under, Tyler Rogers. At number 5 with 107.5 from the St. Louis Cardinals, Phil Maton. Number 4 with 112.9, also from the Marlins, Calvin Fauché. Number 3 is All-Star Jason Adam of the Padres with 118.0. At number 2 with 132.1, also from the Giants, All-Star Randy Rodriguez. And number 1 with 193.1 points from the Pittsburgh Pirates, Dennis Santana. To the American League closers. Number 5 from the Cleveland Guardians and with 107.2, Emmanuel Clase. At number 4 with 132.2 from the Detroit Tigers, Will Vest. Number 3 from the Boston Red Sox with 151.0, All-Star Aroldis Chapman. Number 2 with 171.5 from the Houston Astros, All-Star Josh Hader. And our number 1 yet again with 190.7 from the Seattle Mariners, All-Star Andres Munoz. And finally, the National League closers. Number 5 with 87.8 from the San Francisco Giants, Camilo Doval. Number 4 with 93.6 from the Colorado Rockies, Seth Halverson. Number 3 with 100.1 from the Milwaukee Brewers, All-Star Trevor McGill. A jump of more than 100 points to number 2 with 202.3 from the San Diego Padres, All-Star Robert Suarez. And number 1 with 280.9 from the New York Mets, All-Star Edwin Diaz. That concludes this installment of Reliever Roundup and Bullpen Bonanza from Sport Relay. Join us next time for our first show of the second half, when we will reveal our weekly power rankings for Week 16, and there's a good chance I'll be shooting this from the state of Texas. I'm Evan Thompson. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you then. Thank you for watching this episode. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like. Click subscribe so you'll never miss an episode of this show or of our other show, Trade Trees. Tell your friends and baseball contacts. If you haven't done so yet, consider buying my books, A Complete History of the Major League Baseball Playoffs, Volume 1 and Volume 2. There are links in the description box below this video. And finally, bookmark and regularly visit sportrelay.com. Until next time, this is Evan Thompson saying so long for now.